In this section, we are going to talk about the subtraction of real numbers. The opposite or additive inverse of a number a is written as negative a. This is read the opposite of a or the additive inverse of a. For any real number a, the opposite of a equals to positive a. So, or in other words, negative a is equal to positive a. For any real numbers a and b, a minus b equals to a plus negative b. In other words, to subtract, add the opposite or additive inverse of the number being subtracted. In other words, subtraction is simply adding the opposite. Let's look at some examples. 8 minus 18. We will rewrite this as 8 plus negative 18. From the previous section, we know that when you subtract or when you add a positive number and a negative number, we subtract the larger absolute value and the smaller absolute value. So 18 minus 8 will give us 10, and since 18 is a larger number and it's negative, the answer will be negative 10. Negative 14 minus 12, we will rewrite this as negative 14 plus negative 12. From our previous section, we know that if you add two numbers with the same sign, you would add their absolute value. So 14 and 12 will give you 26, and you keep the common sign, so the answer will be negative 26. 6 minus negative 24. We have negative and negative back to back. That makes it a positive 24. 6 plus 24 is 30, which is our answer. Let's look at some decimals and rational numbers. 3.9 minus 18.6. In this case, the negative 18.6 has a larger absolute value, so we would subtract 18.6 minus 3.9, which will give us 14.7. Now, because 18.6 has larger absolute value and it's negative, the answer will be negative 14.7. In the next example, we have 4 over 15 minus 14 over 15. Let's remember that when adding or subtracting fractions, we need a common denominator, which we have. Once you have a common denominator, you would keep the same denominator and write the numerators over the common denominator. So in this case, we would have 4 minus 14 over 15. 4 minus 14 can be written as 4 plus negative 14 over 15. 4 plus negative 14, you would subtract 14 and 4. That will give us 10. Since 14 is larger, it'll be negative 10 over 15. Remember that any fraction needs to be in the simplest form. So in this case, 10 and 15 can both be divided by 5. So we will divide both the numerator and denominator by 5, and our answer will be negative 2 over 3. The next example, we have 12 minus 34 minus negative 9 minus 11. I'm going to go left to right and only add or subtract two numbers at a time. 12 minus 34, we have a positive 12 and a negative 34. So I would subtract 34 and 12, which will give me 22. Since a 34 has a larger absolute value, the answer is negative 22. When you have a negative and a negative, this becomes a positive. So I'll bring down the plus 9 minus 11. Negative 22 plus 9, 22 is a negative and 9 is a positive, so I would subtract the larger absolute value, 22, minus 9. That will give me 13. Notice that 13 will be negative since the larger absolute value has a negative sign. Negative 13 minus 11, we have two numbers with the same sign, so we would add their absolute values, 13 and 11, will give us 24, and you keep the common sign, so our answer is negative 24.